Good morning, good afternoon, good day, and good evening. Don't know what time of day it is for you, but for me, it's the good time of day. We are at it today. It is a terrific Tuesday. We are going to be talking about some things specifically with Black history today, but we're also going to talk about some of these things that are going on with Constitution and carry and the guns laws that we're seeing today. And I want to touch on a lot of these different things this morning as we're get ready to get started. You're hopping on in. You're getting ready to get on in. If you're anything like me and you're looking at it, your day is getting started and you want to make sure that it gets started right. Let's get started thinking about and talking about things that are pertaining to us as a community, as a culture, as Black people today, and not just as things that are pertaining to music and arts or whatever. Although I guess we could talk a little bit about some things that are going on in music and arts and whatnot. Actually, you know what? Let's touch on it. And before we really get into it, and before we start going into that, I'm going to say that if you like what we're doing here, do the YouTube thing. Give me the like, the comment, the subscribe. If we're going to do a little think on this deal today, give me a little click for that. And it has specifically the like. Give me a like on this. And if you don't like what it is we're doing, and I'm gonna say what I told you yesterday, I would really like for you to drop it in the comments. Let me know what it is that you don't like and why you're still here. Right. So if you don't like what it is that we're talking about or what it is we're doing here, I would really like to know. I say so. In addition to you expressing yourself and exercising your First Amendment rights to let me know exactly why it is that we're here and what it is that you don't like about what it is that we're doing today, please drop it in the comments and let me know. With that being said, so what are some of the things that we're going to go over today? So one of the things I want to really talk about, I really want to get into, and I want to address tonight. We're going to be talking about something in our show this evening, and I'm really contemplating, do I want to push it to tomorrow? But I'm thinking we're definitely going to do it today. But we're going to talk about divestment tonight. And there's a lot that's going on as far as discussions about divesting from Black women and still thinking that we're going to maintain a Black community. So Black men divesting, leaving off, getting with other women, and believing that the Black community will be sustained. And we're going to talk about why that's a bad idea, why that doesn't work, and what it is. And it just fundamentally doesn't work. And I'm not going to bear the lead on it. And tonight, when we get into it, we're really going to talk about it. And it's interesting because one of the people, if we're looking at a today in history type deal, there is an ornithologist named John James Audubon, who was born in Haiti, and he was born to a father who was white, French sea captain, and his mother, she was Haitian. And it's really interesting when you consider and you go over that, because one of the things that you get to see with a child who has a Black mother normally, and this was something that came up with a sister, Frances Cress Wilson. She liked to point out that we have a whole wealth of history behind us on what happens when you have Black women with children that are of mixed race, and what they raise their children as is to believe that their children are Black, to know that they are Black, right? That's how the world is going to treat them. That is what they are, that they are Black children and they are part of this community. And the converse isn't always true, but we can see the contributions of a person like John James Audubon, and what he did for us in history, and that he is someone who's a Black person who actually went a long ways and had a lot of claim to fame, so to speak, historically. So I encourage you today, as you're going through your day, thinking about John James Audubon, and to contemplate exactly what that contribution is from a Black mother and a French father. One of the other things that I want to really touch on today as well, and not just looking at what happened today, but in a couple of days, I guess my military background, something it's going to be about 2 days from now. So I'm kind of chomping at the bit. I want to really jump in on a this day in history type deal on something that happened today, specifically dealing with Black people. So it's a double whammy. It's a legal first, and there is also a military first for specifically the Navy in a couple of days. So looking at that, thinking about it, contemplating that, and having to chomp at the bit and wait on it. Today's the 26th. I got to wait till the 28th. So there's a little primer, so you know exactly what the date is. So in a couple of days, when we get back together in the morning and we get to talking about it, you'll know exactly what it is that we're talking about on the 28th in the morning on that day in history. Excuse me. Ooh, wow. Had a smoothie this morning, so just getting it again. double whammy in any event. So so there it is for in the next couple of days what we're going to be talking about. I say give you a little primer, whet your appetite, get the whistle wet a little bit, and we're going to jump into that here in a couple of days and talking about that. But let's not bury the lead. Let's jump right into it. Let's look at constitutional carry. So each state is starting to, or multiple states are starting to institute constitutional carry. And I think that this is a dangerous proposition, not because I am against 2A or Second Amendment carry or Second Amendment rights. I think it's a dangerous precedent because similar to how we do voting, there is a lot of wiggle room, and I perceive and beginning to see some chinks in that armor where it's going to impact Black people negatively with the constitutional carry. And what I mean by that is fundamentally, when I say, and I'm going to share my screen with you here in a moment, but the prohibitions on constitutional carry are many and varied. So there is, if you don't have a permit to carry, one of the things that you're going to be dealing with, even though constitutional carry, and I'm dealing specifically here in the state of Texas because I am here in the state of Texas. One of the things that you're dealing with here with constitutional carry is that you're not going to be able to carry it into locations where a person with a permit could carry it. So there are certain locations where a person with a permit could carry it, but you're just going on the constitutional carry. In other words, being able to carry a concealed weapon out in public or out and about on a day-to-day basis. There's some things that you just need to know there. Obviously, there is a prohibition on anybody under the age of 21 not being able to carry. So there's that. So not really a big deal. That's something that when you're looking at it and you're contemplating who can carry, who can't carry, who's going to be able to carry, who's not going to be able to carry. Obviously, anybody who's under the age of 21 is not going to be able to carry. The other one is going to be felons. And this is kind of where I'm looking at that slippery slope, and it's going to be really tricky here. And the reason why I say that, because sometimes the people who are going to be carrying are going to be felons because they've been through the system in one way or another. And that's the issue that I'm really concerned with, because we know that the legal system seems to target Black people more often than not, more so than it targets people of other races, specifically white people. So the impact of having a felony or being in the system and having that felony that's going to prevent you from even doing something as simple as constitutional carry is problematic when we see a disproportionate share of Black people being targeted by the legal system and prevented from carrying. And then because they're felons, not only they're prevented from carrying, now they're going to have an additional felony that's going to be on their record as well. Obviously, fugitives from justice is going to be another one. The person that's not going to be permitted to carry or exercise their right for constitutional carry. So it sounds initially like, oh, anybody could carry up under constitutional carry, but when you really start drilling down into the law itself, you start seeing that there's actually a lot. I mean, it's exponential on the number of people that it starts to prohibit. So if you're a person who is an unlawful user or addicted to a controlled substance, can't do constitutional carry. So some people would say, well, that's a good rule to have, something where you can look at and you can say these individuals, and I think I touched my screen because I can't. Oh, there we go. So as I was getting ready to sit there, and actually, I guess I should do that right now. Let's switch that over. So you have people such as those who are not going to be able to carry. Anyone who, if you have mental defect or have involuntarily been committed to a mental institution, you're not going to be able to exercise constitutional carry. People who are undocumented, not being able to utilize constitutional carry. Anyone who is dishonorably discharged from the military, renounce your citizenship. And let's see, what else did I write down? Oh, here's another one. A person convicted in any court of a misdemeanor crime of domestic violence. So these are all issues where constitutional carry and convicted of a misdemeanor crime of domestic violence not being able to ever exercise the right for constitutional carry, even if the person who they were subject to with the domestic violence case is no longer around or they're no longer together, they're still prohibited from constitutional carry and in many cases from concealed carry license as well or permit. So there's a lot of things that go into this when I look at it and I see a disproportionate exercise of the law in regards to black people as opposed to white people. And it's one of those things that when you begin to look at it and you begin to contemplate it, it really does bring into mind that there is a disparate execution of the law for blacks as opposed to whites. And we talk about the law as it stands, that it should be something, and it should be something that is equitably administered towards everybody equally. And it becomes more and more apparent that it's not, that is not something that everyone gets to exercise or everyone gets to enjoy. It is equality under the law. And that's a really sad thing when you look at it. So I want to share my screen with you here because I want to show you exactly what the law is. I'm really big on just not saying something, but actually showing you what the law actually is. And that way you have a basis for what you want to go in there and go take a look at it. So if you're here in Texas and in each state, you can just pretty much, if you Google it, you can probably find out what it is in your state. And I would recommend that you go in there and you find out what the actual law is, not what someone tells you what it is. And they give you a summary of this is what the law states and this is what it is. Go and start doing a plain language reading of what the law is, what the statute is, because I need to get away from stating what the law says. I'm talking statutory law when I state it. I need to be a little more specific in stating that. So let's take a look at it. So if you're seeing what I'm saying on my screen, one of the things that you're looking at right now, this is the act. This is the enrolled version of the law, and it's here on capital.texas.gov. And this is going to be the bill that they have. This is HB House Bill number 1927. So 1927. So HB Hotel Bravo 1927. This is the act that was put forth for a constitutional carry that we now have in the state of Texas. And each state, like I said, there's over 30 states now that have, it's over 22 states right now that have some kind of constitutional carry or permitted carry of a firearm in those states. And what I probably should have done is I'm thinking about it right now, and I really didn't give this too much thought this morning as I'm thinking about this, because I should have also gave you a list or provided a list of what those states are. So there's 22 states currently that have some type of constitutional carry. And again, this is going to be very problematic in the fact that obviously is geared towards allowing a certain portion of the population the ability to carry firearms and another portion of the population not to carry firearms. And we could say, well, anyone who has or is utilizing drugs, as one of those things that we talked about a moment ago, would not be able to carry as a participate in constitutional carry. However, one of the things that you also get to see is that even though we know, and I went over this in a previous episode or in a previous stream, that blacks and whites do drugs at about the same rate. As a matter of fact, slightly more for whites than it is for blacks. However, blacks are disproportionately targeted for arrest and execution of the law for drug laws than whites are. Why that is? Why is it that the executive or the policing is done and targeting blacks more so than whites? Another whole nother topic, and another thing to discuss about the inequity under the law on how the law is executed among the citizenry. But here the act that we're talking about, HB, let me click on and show this here. HB number 1927 or 1927. This is the act that does it. So it says relating to provisions governing the carrying of a firearm by a person who is 21 years of age or older and not otherwise prohibited by state or federal law from possessing the firearm and to other provisions related to the carrying, possessing, transporting, or storing of a firearm or other weapon, creating criminal offenses. So it be enacted by the legislature of the state of Texas. So if you're not already prohibited by either state or federal law from carrying a firearm, then this is going to allow you to carry the firearm. So in the state of Texas. So this act would be known as the Firearm Carry Act of 2021. The legislature of the state of Texas finds that Second Amendment of the United States Constitution protects an individual's rights to keep and bear and to possess a firearm unconnected with service in a militia, and to use that firearm with traditionally lawful purposes, such as self-defense within the home. So it's giving the reasoning on why it is, and obviously I'm not going to sit here and read all 32 pages of the act, but I do want to point out a couple things that was pointed out here, or that's interesting here to note. So number 4 is persons who are currently prohibited from possession of a firearm include persons convicted of a felony as described in the provision of section 46.04 Penal Code, persons convicted of certain assault offenses under section 2201 Penal Code, punishable as class A misdemeanor and involving a member of a person's family or household, certain persons who are subject to the protective order under section 46.04 C Penal Code, and persons meeting any of the criteria listed in 18 USC section 922 G, including persons adjudicated to be mentally incompetent. So this was the paragraph that, as I went through and I looked at all the rest of the language in this act, that for me is the one where it starts to outline or to carve out exceptions to the rule. I'm always cognitive. I'm always paying attention to what are the exceptions. What are the exceptions, and why are those exceptions there? And there is the plain language meaning of it, and then there is how it is actually executed, which is where I really begin to have cause for concern, because one of the things in Texas, the state tries to model itself, or I shouldn't say tries to, but models its government or governing similar to the United States governing. And I guess this is a quick history lesson. So the civics lesson today is that the United States is a system of federalism, which has 2 separate but equal forms of government, one being the federal government and the other being the state government. The federal government is formed by having 3 separate but equal branches that are checks and balances on one another. You have section or Article 1, which is the legislative branch who makes the laws. Article 2, which is the executive branch, which executes or carries out the laws. And Article 3, which is the judicial branch, which is in charge with interpreting the laws under the Constitution. And the state of Texas pretty much follows that model of having those same branches of government that it has as well. And the issues a lot of times is that we get to playing hot potato between those separate and equal branches that as being checks and balances upon one another, and how it is that we can assign blame, and it's kind of playing this hot potato as opposed to just saying the government has shafted and screwed the people. And in this situation, it's going to be, well, the law as written is facially neutral. And this is something I've talked about on multiple occasions. You can have a law, and that law is facially neutral for all intents and purposes. It doesn't single out black people. It doesn't single out white people. It doesn't single out anybody as a person or as a group to run afoul of constitutional interpretation that the courts have made. So you have this ping-ponging back and forth. However, one of the major issues you're really going to have is the execution of the laws. So the law can be written and it can be facially neutral. However, when it comes time for them to carry out the executional laws, it's not carried out facially neutrally. Is that a word? Did I just make up something? I think I just made up something. Facially neutrally. I'm making up words this morning. So it's not carried out in a way that is neutral on its face when carried out, because what you'll start to see is there's going to be disproportionate shares of that population that are going to be targeted. And the people that are put in charge of carrying out the executional laws are executing or carrying out the law in a way in which they only apply the law to the groups that they want to and don't apply it to the groups that they don't. And this becomes relevant or prevalent as a, I guess we could say both. It becomes both relevant and it becomes prevalent in the situation when you're looking at it and you're seeing that you have a group that the that statistically is in the minority, but yet and still that group is statistically overrepresented within the penal system. So as the legal system begins to be executed, as the police and the policing power of the state begins to execute these gun laws, it's going to be really interesting seeing the majority of the people that are charged with gun related crimes, and also understanding how many of those individuals that are possibly not black people that will also be charged with the same gun related crimes, seeing as how while we are overrepresented because of that, is there an overrepresentation as well in those who are charged with gun related crimes? And I know a lot of people that have issues with the ATF. I say specifically, that's one of the few times when you'll have both black people and white people in agreement on the ATF in their overreach many times in executing the law. And it's one of the few times because white people get targeted because they have more guns than black people normally. But this is a situation where black people are going to be subject to not being able to exercise a Second Amendment right because they were targeted for something previously that helps to prevent them from being put in the class of exclusions to not be able to carry and not be able to utilize the Second Amendment or the constitutional carry, which directly references the Second Amendment. So that's pretty much all we have this morning. I don't want to keep you guys too long. And again, one of the things, and if you're enjoying what it is that we're doing this morning, what it is that I want to start doing with you guys every morning, is as we get started and we're getting ready to jump into our days and we're getting ready to get out there, I want you guys to really start thinking about exercises in Black history on a day-to-day basis. Things that Black history doesn't need to just be a month out of the entire year, and the shortest month out of the entire year, but making sure that Black history is something that we do every single day. So in your drive in this morning, as you're getting ready to hop into work, as you're getting ready to get everything charged up, whether you're going to flip on the screen like I do a lot of times, or you're actually getting ready to go in and you're driving in, you head into the courthouse, hey, I'm with you on that one. Or you're probably on the parking lot getting ready to take it on in today. Think about these things. Think about the execution of laws. I know a lot of times these aren't, especially if you're not Black, these aren't things that are really impacting you, that are really affecting you for the most part. But if you know anyone who's Black, and if you have a person that you care about and they are a person of color, then these are things that are going to impact them. These are things that I say, and if we can kind of get a little more humanity to ourselves at this point, and I think that's one of the other things is let's just deal with it from a humanity standpoint. Every single day, every single one of us, even on this terrific Tuesday, are dealing with things where we're looking at things from a standpoint of looking at it that way this morning. And I want to say thank you very much, Miss Suzette Speaks. Thank you very much for joining me this morning. Thank you. morning to you as well. And Powerful, thank you very much. So yeah, I say this is I'd like to take about 30 minutes. Everybody getting ready to go on in. And thank you very much again for dropping in with me this morning, Miss Suzette Speaks. But just want to go over those things. Think about those aspects of Black history. That is not just a specific month. We talked about it in depth yesterday about a lot of times we have a lack of knowledge about these things, and we go through our system of indoctrination. So just trying to see if we can get in on it in the morning time. We're heading into work. I got a mediation. So for those of you who are dealing with mediations or things like that this morning, I feel you. I feel for you. And those of you guys who are actually going in to deal with the court system, think about some of those other individuals out there and how the laws that we have, while it might be facially neutral and it might even be interpreted that way, the execution sometimes is not going to be executed in that way. And we want to be mindful of how these things are going to impact certain corners or certain classes of individuals within our society. So that being said, I want to tell you guys, as you're getting ready to get started, I love you. I know I didn't tell you guys earlier this morning. I know I didn't tell you guys when I started, but I do love you guys. I hope that you guys are going to have a great day. And if you're listening to this later on, I hope your day is already done, and it has been great. Keep in mind that later on in the day, we are going to be having a talk about divestment and how that is not the direction that we want to go in, which is black men leaving black women and thinking we're still going to keep a black community. And that's going to be something that we're going to talk about. And again, I'm not bearing the lead on that. I say it's something I'm definitely not into. I want to discuss the whys on that, and we're going to get into it. We're going to have some panels today, later on this afternoon, tonight at 8. So please stick around and join us for that. And may you always, always, always have peace in your life. And with that, we are out. Be blessed. Bye-bye.